suppose it's been a long time. It is about 1,000 degrees here in Ireland today, so you'll have to excuse me if I don't look very fresh. I'm sweating like a pregnant teenager who doesn't want to be pregnant anymore but lives in Ireland, so they have to be. So I wanted to come on here and talk about Ireland's new gay Prime Minister because everyone seems to think it's so progressive, and I wanted to give you a few reasons why I think it's not progressive. First of all, we don't call him Prime Minister, we call him Taoiseach. And I would have liked one outlet in the world to acknowledge that in all the time they were writing about this. So Leo Vradakar is part of the Fine Gael party. He also happens to be gay. He also happens to be the son of an immigrant. His dad is Indian, his mother is Irish. So he's first generation Irish, he's born and raised in Ireland. First of all, he wasn't elected, so I just want to correct all the articles that said he was elected. The way it worked is the current Taoiseach resigned and the leader of the majority party in our government becomes the Taoiseach. So he got elected the leader of his party within his party. He wasn't elected by the country, so I feel like every article that didn't clarify that was wrong. It's interesting to note that the person he was running against, Simon Coveney, got the majority of votes from the grassroots members, and Leo got the majority of the votes from the politicians themselves. Politicians' votes are worth about 2/3 of the vote, and the grassroots vote is worth only about 1/3. So he ended up winning, and I think that it's very telling that the politicians voted for him but the grassroots membership didn't. Now I understand that the politicians have a double win on their hands because not only is Leo absolutely playing by their rulebook to the letter of the law, he is gay, so they can trot him out anytime anyone says that they're not progressive. They can say, we elected like a gay dude though, come on. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to go through a few examples of why Leo Vradakar sucks. Or more to the point, why he's not progressive and he's not a progressive choice for Taoiseach. And then I'm just going to thank a few news organisations that actually did their homework on this. So in 2010, Vradakar was accused of sexism. This is one of the reasons why I feel Vradakar is anti-woman. He was accused of sexism, and in response he said, if anything, I went easier on Mary Coughlin because she was a woman. Because that's what sexism is when you don't go easy enough on someone. 2016, in Vradakar, while he was health minister, he didn't understand the question when asked if abortion was a class issue, and he dismissed the question. So in Ireland, if you can afford to fly to England to get an abortion, go for you. You can abort that baby all you want. But if you are too poor to do that, tough shit, you have to have it. He pretended he didn't understand that question, and it's important to note here that while he is the son of an immigrant, and that's being touted as amazingly progressive, born and bred in South Dublin, he comes from an affluent family, he was a private school student, he has never been poor. He is very upper middle class, at the very lowest. So I think that touting the son of an immigrant as being, oh my god, isn't this amazing, is a bit deceptive, because Leo definitely grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. One a lot of the rest of us didn't, and one a lot of women who can't get an abortion didn't, and he pretends not to understand the question when asked it. While health minister, which is interesting. 2 weeks ago, 3 now, Vradakar was asked about gender equality, and he responded that he would be fair to men and promised that they wouldn't be marginalised. Because that is the aim of feminists around the world, is to marginalise men. It's not equal rights for the sexes, which is the literal definition. No, we're all about marginalising the men. So thank God they have Leo Vradakar here to protect them. Ireland introduced civil partnerships in 2010, which he was against. And he was not against civil partnerships for the same reason that, say, I was against civil partnerships, or many other equality campaigners were against civil partnerships, i.e. that there were 160 differences between it and legal marriage, which was completely unfair and not equality at all. I'll put the link down in the description. But he was against it because, in his own words, speaking in the Dáil in 2009 against the civil partnerships bill, 2 men cannot have a child, 2 women cannot have a child. Every child has a right to a mother and father, and as much as possible the state should try and vindicate that right. And that the right of a child to have a mother and father is much more important than the right of 2 men or 2 women to have a family. So in other words, Leo Vradakar is a member of Mother and Father's Matter, or he might as well be. So our first openly gay Taoiseach has debated in our government against giving gay people equal rights, both the right to adopt and the right to a civil partnership, and then he had a gall to wear a rainbow flag on the day of the marriage equality vote like he hadn't done either of those things. In a hot press interview in 2010, he said marriage in our constitution is very clear that it's a man marrying a woman, largely with a view to having a natural family, and if they are unable to do that, obviously they can adopt. And I would be of the view that it doesn't have to be the case for everyone, but that the preferable construct in a society is the traditional family, and the state through its laws should protect that and promote that. So, not progressive at all. I understand that he made these comments before he officially came out, but I don't think it's good enough that he hasn't ever apologised for them. I understand that maybe there are factors at play, that he was trying to fit in to Fine Gael and he was worried that somebody would find out he was gay. I do understand that and I have to allow for that. But he's never fucking publicly apologised for speaking out against the rights of the very section of society he identifies as. So I just think that's bollocks. Recently in Ireland we had a citizens' assembly to discuss the issue of the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. They voted overwhelmingly to replace the amendment and recommended with over 60% of the vote Irish women should be allowed safe and legal access to abortion before 22 weeks with no requirement to give a reason, and that it should be put forward to the Oireachtas, which is our law-making body, to put the wording there for that law. Vradakar responded to this that he wanted Fine Gael to be a warm house for those who held conservative views on abortion. Despite our current abortion situation in Ireland actually being against the EU Court of Human Rights. Yes, the EU has actually said that what Ireland is doing is a human rights violation to women. Don't get me wrong, his competitor Simon Coveney was arguably worse, saying he was uncomfortable with women having their own bodily anatomy. And the leader of Fianna Fáil, who said that women who were raped should not be able to get abortions because it's not the baby's fault. So in that context, Leo Varadkar was potentially not the worst here, but he ain't the progressive liberal he's been painted out to be either. As Minister for Health, in January 2015, he said, "I consider myself pro-life as I accept that the unborn is a human life with rights and I do not support abortion on request or on demand. I also stated and sincerely believe that this is an issue where there are few certainties and where families and doctors often find themselves having to make extremely difficult ethical and clinical decisions." Potentially, yeah, they do have to make difficult ethical and clinical decisions, like in 2016 where the pregnant 14-year-old was suicidal when she found out she was pregnant and she wanted an abortion and she was told she was being brought to Dublin to get an abortion, and instead they locked her up with the intention to hold her there until she was forced to complete the pregnancy. How long was she in there? Did she miss the window? Did she have to have the baby? Who knows? Nobody gives a fuck about women in this country, so who cares? Vradakar, in my opinion, is a classist elitist. He ran for the leadership on an anti-welfare platform, and that infuriates me. He claims that his figures for welfare fraud in 2016 were 11 times higher than the official department figures. So it was actually 11 times bigger of an issue than it had been made in the past. Get this. And thank you very much to Joe.E journalist Carol Kinsella for highlighting this and actually doing a bit of amazing journalism. The official figures from the department were one convicted case of welfare fraud. There were 10 more cases that were dropped because there wasn't enough evidence. Vradakar's figures included the 10 people who the state dropped their cases against because they didn't have enough evidence to bring it to conviction. He said things like only those who contribute to the system will benefit, but never clarified what his definition of a contribution was, so that's quite problematic and concerning in my opinion. He also proposed to publish names of convicted welfare cheats on the internet. That's right, the new progressive Prime Minister of Ireland ran on a campaign where he promised to dox people, so people who had been convicted, done their time or their community service or been through the justice system and had justice served. He wants to dox them. And people in Fine Gael were like, yes, great idea. Yet he ran his whole campaign based on making Fine Gael the party of people who get up early in the morning. Do you know who doesn't get up early in the morning? Those who work nights, those who work shifts, those who can't. It's an ableist and classist approach that also manages to leave out hardworking people like doctors, for example. Unemployment was at its lowest at 14% under his party Fine Gael, so if that were to happen again, I wouldn't expect there to be a net there to catch you. As an anecdote, Vradakar was quoted a few years ago as saying Tiny Tim from the Christmas Carol should get a job. I mean, I hope he didn't watch the film and the comment is coming from a complete lack of preparedness and complete lack of research before speaking on a topic, because honestly that would be preferable to him thinking that the disabled child in the children's Christmas Carol film should get a job. As Minister for Social Protection, he ran a campaign called Welfare Cheats Us All that cost 200,000 for 11 cases in 2016, only one of which was convicted. As Twitter user Jamie Hogan has pointed out, at €188 per week, the one person that cheated welfare would have had to do it for 22 years to cover the cost of Vradakar's campaign. Interesting that Apple can avoid paying billions in tax here, but one convicted welfare fraud means the whole system needs to be done away with, isn't it? As the Minister for Health, he presided over the worst A&E crisis the country has ever seen. I'm going to link a number of articles down in the description about the A&E crisis and the fact that people were on trolleys for up to 18 hours, I believe. In fairness, as Minister for Housing, Simon Coveney has presided over the worst housing crisis in the country's history, so be very clear that his competition was arguably no better. Coming to his promises, he wants to ban strikes in the public sector because stick your free speech up your arse. It is a fundamental right of a worker to strike, and I support any worker that wants to strike to better their situation. I want to thank Joe.ie and Irish Times and Independent.ie and HospitalityEnews.ie for actually doing good research here and getting, I'll put all the articles, put all the links to all the articles down in the description where they have summarised what he has said, his policy stances and his achievements. He has had a few successes during his time in government. He helped employers PRSI for low paid workers, and he also presided over the Gathering, which is where the Irish Bucket List started, and was an amazing initiative that generated millions for the economy. I wanted to be fair and say he has got a number of achievements under his belt that I would be like, well done. However, I just think that calling him progressive is incorrect. He has spoken against LGBT equality, he has spoken out against women having their own bodily anatomy, and he has said some pretty fucking problematic shit just off the cuff. Guess I didn't go easy on him because he's not a woman. Oh my god, I'm so sweaty. It's so hot in Ireland. I can't deal with it. Subscribe to my channel, please follow me on social media. If you like more of the political stuff, you can follow me on Twitter because that's where I get fucking political. Let me know if you want any more of these videos. I think that sometimes it's good to cut through the bullshit. It's great that we have a gay Prime Minister. It would just be even better if he was as progressive as people think he is. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know down below if you want any more of these. Subscribe to my channel for more and see you soon.